Hey guys, today we're going to talk about the top mistakes that people make when they travel to Iceland. So we just spent a week in Iceland and it was an amazing time, but we did make a few mistakes that we wanted to let you know about so that when you go, you can try to avoid those things. We also saw people make quite a few mistakes that were very costly for them, so we're going to fill you in on that as well. What were some of the mistakes you saw, Allie?
Well, for starters, bringing the right gear as far as clothing, warm enough clothes. It doesn't seem that bad during the daytime, but once that sun starts to set, the weather changes drastically really throughout the day, whether you're out early in the morning or the afternoon or the evening or really late at night. You really have to be very careful, right?
And you're going to be out later than you think you are because you're going to be looking for the northern lights most likely, and you could be out till 2-3 a.m. when it's really, really cold. So.
Yeah, so really I would say that the best thing to do would be to dress in layers. And that way you can either add layers or remove layers as the day goes on, as it gets warmer, as it gets cooler. And then of course, always have a hat with you, and a knit hat is best because it fits snug right over your head, and gloves with you, right? Because your hands definitely are gonna get cold real quick, right?
Yeah. So mistake 2 would be not accounting for the incredibly high cost of food. We were trying to find. We mostly ate stuff from the grocery store that we bought, and we bought some things at some fast food places, which were kind of hard to find. But the days that we did try to find a restaurant, like our hotel restaurant, which was was like a 4-star hotel, I looked up on their menu what it would be just for like a chicken breast, and it was $40 for one person.
That's a lot of money
for
a chicken breast. Chicken breast is not that good.
When we went to like a fast food joint for burgers, a burger, fries, and Coke combo meal was about $16. 2 hot dogs from the gas station were about $8 to $10, so about $4 or $5 a piece. The best deals that we got were going to the grocery store, buying bread, buying meat, buying cheese, making our own sandwiches, buying chips, buying drinks. Easily the best, most economical thing. So plan to do that. There are a lot of pizza places for some reason in Iceland. I don't know why. But they can be economical if maybe you share a large pizza between a few people. But eating out in just the regular restaurants there is ridiculously expensive. So if you have a lot of money to blow on that, go for it. If not, just understand that it's going to be pricey, and don't just walk into somewhere thinking, oh, how bad can it be? It can be really bad. We did that once, walked in and got 2 ice cream cones thinking, how bad can it be? It was $22. So
yeah, for very little amount of ice cream.
Yeah.
I think the other thing too to account for, not just the high cost of food, but also the difficulty in finding food throughout the day. If you're driving from attraction to attraction or place to place, you're gonna find that it's very difficult to find food. So even if you have the money to blow, you may not find anywhere from point A to point B to point C to even stop and get something to eat. So it's always good to go ahead. The bonus grocery store, you'll find those all over the place in Iceland. In every city, you'll find one, every big city. And just go ahead and grab some food, have food with you, have water with you, because in Iceland the weather turns quickly and you just don't know when you're gonna need to have food with you.
Yeah. Another mistake we saw people making was that they booked their outings way too far in advance. And if you go to Iceland and you plan out every day ahead of time, you're gonna have trouble because of the weather. You just don't know when it's gonna be a rainstorm, when you're gonna have 50-mile-an-hour winds, when it's gonna be sunny. And we would see people on tours on a rainy, cold day riding horses, and they just looked miserable. And so if they had just waited the next day, which the tour probably would have had spots available the next day anyway, and waited till they got there and saw the weather about a week out to book their tours, they would have had a much more enjoyable time, because it's miserable. If the weather is bad, there's not really a whole lot you can do. Find something inside, catch up on your sleep, whatever. But don't book your tours too far in advance, because you have to account the weather in your tours.
Definitely. Also, going to attractions in the afternoon. That's a pretty big mistake people make. If you want pictures at all these attractions, be prepared if you go in the afternoon to have hundreds of people in every single one of your photos or videos, or having a difficult time parking your car, which the parking lots for a lot of these attractions are small. The tour buses generally are there in the afternoons, because it does take several hours. If they're coming from Reykjavik, it does take anywhere from 2 to 5 hours on the south end of the ring to get to the attractions. So you definitely want to plan to either be there in the morning if you're a very early morning person, or like us, we went mostly in the evenings. We would leave right around dinner time, right, and head out, and nearly everything was cleared out. We had zero problems whatsoever finding parking spots everywhere that we went, and there was a lot less traffic too, which is really great.
And by sunset, everyone is gone. Because by sunset, they already need to be back on the tour buses heading back to Reykjavik. So you really get the best of both worlds if you wait and go later in the day, sleep in, and just go late. The next mistake that people make all the time in Iceland is not making a plan to see the Northern Lights. You're not going to just step out of your hotel and look up and see them on most days. They are the most incredible thing you'll see, but you have to have a foolproof plan to see them. And the biggest mistake that people make is that they don't go on a day when they're visible, and that they go to a place where it's cloudy. So there's 2 apps that you can find. If you search on any app store, one that looks for the KP index, it'll tell you how active the Northern Lights are going to be that day. And if the KP index is 2 or a 3, they may not be out that night. If it's a 4, 5, or 6, you're going to have an amazing show. So look at that app, see what day it is that you should even try to go out, because you don't want to spend every night out until 4 in the morning. Pick the right day, and then secondly, go on the web and find a weather forecast for the cloud cover. And if there's clouds covering the area of the island that you're in, drive somewhere where there's a forecast for no clouds. So we had a KP index of 6 the first night we were there. That's really high, which means they were going to definitely be visible if you got away from the clouds. But there were clouds covering everywhere within 4 hours of us. So we drove for 4 hours to get away from the clouds and saw the lights, and they were amazing, and you can really see them shine. So those are the 2 things you got to do. Figure out what days they're active, and figure out where the clouds are.
And adding on to that, the other thing is also be aware that you are going to be up late. The Northern Lights don't appear the second the sun sets, because the sunset in Iceland is a little bit different. The sun sets and it's set, but it's still light for at least another hour. I mean, it was light till about 10 o'clock when we were searching for the Northern Lights that very first night. It was amazing to stand out there, and it was still light. You can still see around with no problem. So be prepared for a late night. Like I said, we were out there till about midnight, which is actually not too late, but we had a 4-hour drive back to our hotel in the dark. So that's interesting too. So that's important.
Check what time the sunset is forecast for, and then the Northern Lights won't start for about an hour after that.
Right. Definitely. Okay, so we've talked about obviously driving. So renting a car in Iceland, you would think it's, cut and dry. Just, hey, I want to rent a car. I'll just walk up. I'll rent one. It's not quite that simple.
No. When we tried to rent our car, we got to the car rental agency, and they didn't have any cars for us because the one they were going to give us was in an accident. And
which is not odd.
Not uncommon. They said, most of the cars that came back that morning were damaged. So we had to wait until someone actually brought one back that wasn't damaged. Which tells you one thing. You just want to get their insurance. They told us that 1/3 of cars come back with some type of damage on them, which was very believable after we saw many people come in and they were all damaged and we couldn't get a car. And if you don't have the insurance that they offer you, you're going to be paying quite a bit for those repairs, or submitting it to your insurance, and it's going to be a whole hassle. So I would recommend, I don't usually recommend getting the insurance most places. We don't normally do that, but in a place like this where the likelihood is so high, just go ahead and get the insurance. There's things that you just can't take into account for, like a sandstorm, gravel. There's so much volcanic rocks and ash kicking up all over the place. You're gonna most likely have some type of chip in the windshield or dent on the car from that you even if you're a perfect driver, the wind is just going to get you and you get a nick in the car one way or another.
Absolutely.
And you're going to get charged a couple $1,000s for that. So.
Yeah, and it's not so much that the car rental agency is so picky about the dents and stuff on the cars. It's that this is actual like damage. They have a little card they show you and they say, hey, if the damage is bigger than this, then that's damage. If it's smaller than this, we don't consider it damage. And really, you can tell they're not that picky, but I mean, you can walk up to it and see the giant dent in it from where, a rock hit it, or they parked too close to something, because some of the pull-offs are really tricky on the side of the road. So it's better safe than sorry in that case, unless you just want to, throw a couple $1,000s out the window. It's better to just get the insurance. You don't have to worry about it. And there's several layers of the insurance. And we got the highest, and the girl even said, you don't even have to worry about it. When you bring the car back, just drop off the keys and you can head right to the airport, because we're not going to charge you for anything, unless you lost the car.
One thing we didn't get was the roadside assistance assurance, which would have been $56 for the week, which seems a little high. But when you take into the condition the cars there, these are not brand new rental cars, by the way. These are, these cars have I think ours had 90,000 miles on it.
They've been around the block.
And this was from Avis and Enterprise and these types of places. Not like you'd see in the States. There was visible rust on some of the cars. These are not, these are cars in Iceland that have been through several seasons in Iceland. And there is actually a chance of breaking down there. So after we got out there and I saw how desolate the area was, I started to think to myself, maybe we should have gotten that, because if you get 4 hours away from Reykjavik and you need a tow back to town, that would not be fun or pretty.
And it would be more than $56.
It would be a lot more than $56. So that's something to consider also.
Yes. Oh, another thing in relation to the car as well is filling up your car with gas or with petrol or diesel, whatever your car takes. If you see a gas station, fill your car up. Just like restaurants, right? They're few and far between. So if you go through a city and you say, hey, I have a half tank, I'll be fine. The next city may be more than a half a tank's worth away before you find someplace where you can fill up again. So if you get the opportunity, go ahead and fill up, and you won't have to worry about, am I going to run out of gas? Because if you run out of gas out there, you better have a plan for sleeping in your car and hoping that you can get somebody to come out and help you in the middle of the night or the next morning.
Yeah, and the other thing is you may want to use your car and your gas to keep warm.
True.
So just sitting in it waiting for the lights, you may want to have that on. So it's another use of gas that you may have.
Yeah, that's important.
The last tip I think we have for people is don't speed in Iceland. We'd gone probably a month in several countries without seeing a police car. We saw several in Iceland.
We did.
And
I was surprised.
Yeah, I was surprised we saw them, but they do pull people over for speeding there. The fines can be quite hefty. We've heard. We did not get pulled over, but not something you want to deal with there. So there are places where you don't have to worry about the police. Iceland is not one of those places.
Correct.
So just don't speed, and you should be fine.
Yeah.
So we hope this video has helped you learn some things that you want to avoid on your trip to Iceland. But don't let it discourage you from going.
No.
It is such an incredible place. We had such an amazing time there.
Yeah. And if you've had any of these experiences or different, mistakes that you made from what we did or what we saw, go ahead and share those with us in the comments. And make sure you like and subscribe to the channel as well. We'd like to see you back.
Yes.